Greetings. This is Arvette McLean of Speak, the Universe Listens.
We cherish that. We love that particular piece of it because it
Teach people like, hey, it's okay. Change.
New ways to view age-old challenges. Change your thoughts, change your life. Step into the bigness of you.
Greetings, and welcome to today's episode of Speak, the Universe Listens. And today's topic is paradigms. Are your beliefs keeping you stuck? And I have Stephen. Hey, Stephen. I'm great. And then we have Scott joining us. How are you, Scott?
I'm doing great. Waving at everybody. Doing great. Glad to be here.
Awesome. We are always glad to have you.
Thank you.
Yeah, so we always talk about how thoughts create our reality. But what we don't realize is that a lot of our thoughts are unconscious.
Right.
We're not aware of them. So we're not even recognizing the thoughts that we're having. Therefore, we're like, where did this reality come from? I didn't create this reality. And so that's kind of like where paradigms come in. Because paradigms is really just a fancy way of saying, you know, what are your rituals, your habits, your customs, your beliefs, common sense, just the way things are done. So when we talk about paradigms, it's kind of like just how you do things. And the thing about it is a lot of times we are totally blind to how we're doing things every single day in our life. We're totally blind to the thoughts that we're having, the feelings that we're having. Even sometimes, you know, you can make expressions and people are like, why are you looking like that? And you're like, looking like what? So we're totally blind to things that's right in front of our face. And so a moment ago, a sentence flashed on the screen, and the sentence said, you are quite literally unable to perceive data right before your very eyes. Now, I wonder how many of you caught that extra two. And that's the thing about paradigms. Paradigms, they blind us to things that's right in front of our eyes. So why do you think this is happening?
And like I say, we get accustomed to seeing things a certain way, and we actually are not really in the now. A lot of times, we're actually operating from our past, and so this is the way that it has been. So this is what I'm going to expect it to be, and therefore, if it's something different, no, I need it to be back the way it was. You know, I think really that's what it boils down to, is that we're not living in our present moment. We're living in our past.
And that's such a good point, because back to the sentence, if you notice that you didn't see that extra two, it's because our brain corrected it for us. Like, we knew what it was supposed to say, and so the brain just wiped out anything that wasn't supposed to be there. And so that's what we do in our everyday life. Like, we know what we're expecting to see, and so there's so many things that's just right in front of our face that we can't even see. There's so many opportunities. There's so much love, fun, joy, all types of things that's right in front of our face, but we're not expecting that, and so we don't see it.
And you're absolutely right. I can say just from experience and just everyday life, you know, with the people I work with and my friends, that we operate off of our everyday routine, and when it comes to sort of changing that, and we know that we need to change that, right? Certain things about it is that attachment of, okay, I know I need to let go of this, but what do I do now, type of thing. So it's like easy. You know you don't need to do that, so find something else to replace what it is that you know what I'm saying, what it is that you need to sort of change in your life. And for me, I had a routine. My routine was just basically get up in the morning, get myself dressed, brush my teeth, get ready to go to work, come home, go to sleep. Wake back up, it's just like the same thing all over again.
It's like being in a hamster wheel, right?
Yeah, it was like a hamster wheel. And I realized, I said, okay, well, now I want to change my life, better myself, and just my personal growth, you know, and my thought process. So how can I do that and fit that in my everyday routine? And so I realized I got to change the routine. I realized I got to change the routine. So I said, you know what? All right, first step. All right, I want to work on my health wise. Well, in the morning time, get up, go to the gym. After that, then what is going to be my next? So sort of just like planned it out a little bit. And then of course it was sort of like shifting gears a little bit. Sometimes I fall back into the old routine a little bit, but then I realized why I'm doing what I'm doing. And so after a while, it just started to slowly shift for me. So I think, it can be challenging at times for anybody, you know. But I think when you are aware of what it is that you're trying to accomplish, what you want for yourself, then things will go ahead and shift for you.
That's awesome that you were able to have that experience. And I know sometimes I have talked to people that they've changed their routine, but they didn't get the experience that they were hoping to get from it. You know, and so sometimes you'll see that. But what I've noticed is that sometimes they still have the same experience. Sometimes they get an experience that they don't like out of it. But what I tend to tell people is like, if you get an experience you don't like, still get excited about it, because it's like you changed something. So you did something right. You changed something, and so then it's just a shift to say, now I know how to change it. How can I change it the way that I want it to be? Right? And then for the people that if they're not getting a different experience, to maybe they just didn't do it long enough. They didn't persist in it enough. They were going through the motions in some cases and not going through it energetically. You know, so to just go through the motions, hey, maybe you get a change, maybe you don't. But to go through it energetically, you know, deep within your thoughts, now you begin to adjust things. You start having a shift. You start having a change that takes place.
Exactly. Because you can think about the number of people who have, tried to lose weight, for example. You kind of know what you're supposed to do, but you can do it and really have no results or no lasting results because the changes are temporary. Like when you're putting it on something outside of yourself, like I'm going to just change what I'm doing, that's a temporary fix. It has to come from inside, and you have to feel differently about yourself. Right. You have to feel like your body is worthy. You have to feel love towards your body. You have to feel, I'm worthy for whatever it is that I want. And so that's the change that has to take place in order to keep those routines in place. So you can change your routine, but it may only last for, a month or however long. So like exactly what you're saying, changing it energetically.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing. Because when I changed my routine up, I did notice my feelings. How did I feel when I started exercising on a regular basis? How did I feel when I stopped smoking years ago? How did I feel?
You smoked?
No, I did. So all of those things, I sort of went inside, and then when I did, I was like, dang, my feeling. That was one of the main things I really resonated with, was my feelings. And
Nice.
when I felt good, I was like, well, I look back and I'm like, when I slipped and I sort of went back into my old habit, I said, that's not aligning with what it is that I'm trying to pursue.
So do you recall like what changed in you in order for you to stop smoking?
I would say the biggest thing was when I found out I could stop, right? So I smoked for years, and I went cold turkey. And when I found out I could stop, but then I went back to the habit because of my surrounding, my friends, they smoked at the time. And so when I went back to it, did it for a while, and like didn't feel how I was feeling when I didn't smoke. And said, that's not what I want to feel. So then I went back to not smoking. I said, hey, okay, this is resonating with me. And I think a lot of people, they more than capable of doing the things that they want to do, right? But then when they start doing it, they want to visit back the past real quick, because of it's like an attachment because you've been doing it for so long, and so the biggest thing for me was just letting that attachment go, just saying, you know what, this is the real thing.
Yeah. Like, I have so many examples. I don't know which one to say, but I know a big point for a lot of people is weight. So I'll say that about weight. Like, ever since I was a little girl, people would always say to me, you're going to be big just like your mom. So why were they telling me that as a little girl? But they were programming me.
Right.
Like, they were literally programming me, like, you're going to be big just like your mom. And so at some point, I just accepted it as truth. And it's not like I was consciously saying, yeah, I'm going to be big, just like I didn't consciously think that, but at some point, it was my truth. It was my paradigm. The women in my family are big. And, if I look at my mom and then her I guess it was really her aunt, they look exactly alike. They were just, younger. My mom was a younger version of my aunt. And then I was a younger version of my mom. And so it was no reason why I thought I wouldn't be big. And so needless to say, I just got bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And it was like nothing I would do could change it. There was no, I was on a different diet, like every other month. I was exercising, so I was crazy. It was nothing. I mean, I was running marathons, 2 marathons a year, which means I'm in training for almost 8 or 10 months out of the year. I'm in training.
Right.
I didn't lose a pound.
Wow.
So it's not about doing the things. It's about the energy.
Yes.
It's about the thoughts and
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it literally took me taking the time out on a regular basis, flowing love to my body. And I didn't necessarily feel love for my body because it was fat and unattractive. So that's how I viewed myself. And so I just started thinking about all the things that I loved about me, which was hard to do at first. But then I was like, you know what? I have beautiful skin and, my heart beats. I don't have to think about it. And, I have this strong hair, because my hair would break the teeth out the comb. And,
That's strong. That's strong.
And so I just started thinking about, how strong my legs were and how my legs could take me 26 miles. I could run 26 miles. Just started thinking about wow, my body is amazing. And then I started being able to flow love to it. And then the more love I flowed to it, it just changed how I felt about my body. And then next thing you know, I just lost weight.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and that again, just that really just goes towards is about our thoughts and it's about our feelings. That's what changes everything. Well, sometimes what happens when a person is saying, I want to change this, and they start taking some steps towards it, it's almost like an addiction that they've had from having that experience in the past. And so they're pulling themselves back to what was it that I used to have? What was my old experience? That's my comfort zone. And so they go back to their comfort zone instead of allowing themselves to move forward. And so it's like they start taking some steps in a stronger direction based off of what they're choosing to experience. But then they say, maybe I want it. And they don't consciously say it. Some people do, but but most of them don't consciously say it. But they'll unconsciously, energetically, let me go back because that's where I was comfortable. And we give ourselves the illusion that it's easier to not attempt to make this change and to stay where I am than to give it all I have to make this change and potentially fail. And so we start making unconscious choices, saying, you know what, I'm gonna be okay here. But to be in that place of awareness, like one of the things you talked about was being in that awareness, what was feeling better. You say, you realize when you went back to smoking, you didn't feel as good. And so to be in that place of awareness to say, you know what, I felt better doing it this way. Let me get back to feeling better. That's a powerful place to be. And then just in that same process, and this is a shortcut I believe that our vet was doing here, to start going into love, to start going into that positioning of remembering the truth of who you are. You were created perfectly by perfection itself. And to be able to remember that, to connect with that piece, then your perfection begins to show up.
You start to shine.
Yes. Yes. And I think that's the shortcut. Everybody, maybe you might have, these are different ways to do the same thing, but I think that's the shortcut.
Yes, I agree. And I think that's the biggest paradigm of all that we all are in, is that we have forgotten who we are. Yes. So our belief is that we are separate from God, we're separate from the universe, separate from source, separate from spirit, separate from our higher selves. That paradigm leads us into a space of fear and lack and limitation. And so as long as we are operating from in that paradigm, which we all do, we operate in that paradigm where we forget who we are, we forget that we are part of and not separate from, that's what causes us to be limited in our motions.
Yes. Yeah, majorly. And so anytime we're having any challenge, I believe that's the first step we should go to, is to remember who we are, to reconnect, and to say, I'm one with the universe. The universe is unlimited, can do all things. All problems are solvable by the universe. And they're solvable right now even. And so to remember that strength and then to realize that you're one with that. Wow.
Your power.
Wow. To be able to even talk to somebody else and to be able to say, I'm speaking to someone that's one with God right now. And to be able to see that divinity that is right there. Wow. The whole paradigm changes.
Exactly.
Right? And that's something we can do consistently over and over again. Anytime we can make that choice to operate, to think from a place of strength, or we can go into our past and operate from our place of littleness. We always have that choice to make.
And that's one of my biggest powers, is choice. Choice.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because you can choose your low vibrational self, or you can choose to be your high vibrational self. And we're so used to the low, because we rarely, even if we ever have, experienced the high. But if anybody experienced the high, then you wouldn't even want to go back at all. You wouldn't even want to go back to it. So that should be their motivation, right there within itself, to sit back and be like, you know what? Because I know for me, that was it. As soon as I touched that peak, I was like, whoosh. I mean, everything that I used to do that wasn't serving me at all. And I reached that peak in my life where I was just my high vibrational self. I woke up in the morning feeling good, feeling healthy. My mind was just sharp. I'm like, I like this guy. Yeah. And then when I slipped and I went back, I'm like, something ain't right. I'm just, I was a little mopey. So I would tell anybody, when you experience it, that high vibrational self, you're not gonna want to go path, but always continue to chase it. And then when you get there, you're gonna always got to work on it, always. But yes, man, it's just when you just know what you are and your power, and you just sometimes you need reminders. That's all.
Consistent reminders. You know, and you were saying when you were a kid, you had people saying the same negative affirmation to you. I remember even being in high school, and it was a couple of teachers, but one specifically. He wasn't even one of my teachers, but he'd see me in the hall, and every day he would say, "Well, Scott, if you don't go to college, you're going to be either dead, in jail, or flipping burgers." I'm like, really? That's my only options? That's it? That's it? And he would say that every day. Every day. I'm like, why are you saying this to me? I don't even know you. I don't even know his name. but every day he would say that.
Wow.
Why? And so it's up to us, I believe, to attempt to give people reminders of their greatness. To be able to, whether we're saying it verbally or we're just thinking it, feeling it energetically, but to remind others of their greatness. And whenever sometimes we don't have somebody reminding us of our greatness that way, per se, speaking truth to us. And we do have that person's coming to us and saying, you're going to be in jail or dead or, flipping burgers. That's it. That's your only choices. Right. But then it's up to us to change the way we're thinking of that. And so eventually, as he was saying that type of stuff to me, I was like, no. And so him saying that became a catalyst for me to think in a higher level. It became a catalyst for me to say, I'm choosing something higher than what you're predicting for me. And so we have that ability within ourselves to, as long as we're in that place of awareness, to take that and use it as a catapult, to catapult us into a higher level. Use this as energy, as strength to push us higher to where we want to go. Mm-hmm. So we have that ability at any given time.
You're absolutely right. I totally agree with you.
Yeah, so a lot of times we're looking for something on the outside of us. And, I lived my younger life, as a depressed person. So every single moment of my day, I was depressed. And I was always thinking something out there needed to change. Something out there needed to happen. Someone out there needed to come and tell me something. And it really all was in my hands. And I remember getting a glimpse of it one time. It's almost like what you were saying. Like I got a glimpse of, I feel good. And it was fleeting. But I remember that feeling like, how can I get that feeling again? And so I had no idea, and it took years, for me to get to a place where I could call it at will. Right. And where I could learn to stay there instead of, having to call it or whatever. So it took years for me to figure that out. But thankfully, if you guys are listening to this podcast, you got people like us telling you how you can do it, how you can call it to you in an instant, and how you can learn to stay there just simply by practicing. And so that is a new paradigm. It's a shift in your belief, a shift in believing that something out there needs to come in and save you, but it's that we can save ourselves.
But, and so we do have that power to save ourselves. And it's not just coming from us, because sometimes we may hear that guidance coming from a divine place and we're like, no, I got this, and we start operating from fear, trying to control stuff. And so that's different from operating from strength. Mm-hmm. So to operate from little fears, you're contracted, you're small. We're operating out of from the place of worrying and being by yourself. You're small, you're contracted. But when you connect to the universe and you understand your power, you're now operating from strength, from a larger place. And from that place, it becomes easy to transform your experience. Mm-hmm. And to get to that experience of having that joy, mm-hmm. that the indescribable joy, just right? And that's what is meant for all of us, is to have that joy. And I would imagine for most people that are watching, somewhere along the way, you have felt at least some level of joy, some level of happiness. And so if you felt it before, you know that it is real, and you know that you can re-find it again. And you're able to get back to it, just like what Arvetta was talking about earlier, to be able to reconnect to it. So you know that it's there. It's not just something that you're imagining. It's something that you know it is there. And to have that certainty with it, and now you know the path to get back to it is yours.
Yes, and I really wanted to say this earlier, but you just reminded me again. Like, a lot of times when we think we're acting to move ourselves forward, which we are. We want to move forward, and then we don't have success with moving forward. And a lot of that is because we are operating from a place of lack. It's kind of like Stephen has said it. I don't know if you said it today or not, but Stephen has said, what you resist persists. And so a lot of times we're operating from, I don't want this. I don't want to be fat. And if I'm operating from, I don't want to be fat, that's what's going to persist.
Yeah, because that's what's in your energy is the fatness.
Exactly.
And if you're saying that, that's what's in your energy.
Exactly.
So that's what you're bringing to you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so it's just a matter of flipping that around and saying, what is it that you want? And operating from what do you want? And one of my favorite sayings is, we don't get what we want, we get what we're being.
I like that.
And so if I'm operating as a fat person, I'm going to get more of that. But if I'm being a person who's in love with myself, who's in love with my body, who's in love with, life itself, then I'm going to have an experience of just, abundant love.
So I'm flashing back right now, and I'm hearing you singing this song. You know what song I'm talking about? I love my body. Oh. I love my body. I love it. So hopefully, maybe y'all know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, that was one of the songs I sang last summer, like when we were at the height of the COVID experience, and I just took time out to really focus on me, because so often we give so much out, and we forget that you really can't give it if you ain't got it. Exactly. And I didn't feel depleted or anything like that, but I'm like, I guess I can love on me. And so I would sing this little song every day about me loving my body. And yeah.
I can see you dancing.
Nice, fun, catchy too. I like it.
Yes, and you remember the tone too. That's so funny. But anyway, I hope you guys really can get something out of the whole idea of paradigms and the beliefs, the habits, the rituals, things that these things typically go deep. Like, a lot of times you don't recognize your own paradigms until you move into a house with someone. So that's when you start realizing, that everybody doesn't do it this way. So you're looking at them like they crazy, and they looking at you like you crazy. Exactly. So our beliefs, they run many layers deep, and as Scott and Stephen have alluded to, it's just so important for us to, I guess, start being in the present moment awareness. Now, a lot of things you'll never realize. You'll never realize you're doing it. You'll never realize you're thinking this way. It just may never come to your conscious awareness. But what if you put in your conscious awareness just that you always want to, what did you say? Always feel better now.
Feel better now.
Feel better now. So always just feel better now. So no matter what the situation is, no matter what's going on, whether it's already something good, you can still feel better now. So that's a new paradigm to put into your arsenal. So this is Arvette.
This is Steve.
I'm Scott.
Till next time, guys.